daughter, Emily, has always had a vivid imagination. Ever since she was a toddler, she'd spend hours in her room, giggling and chatting away with her imaginary friend. At first, my wife and I found it endearing, a normal part of childhood, but as the years passed, the sense of unease began to creep in. It was the way she spoke to this invisible companion that sent shivers down my spine. Emily would often engage in hushed conversations, nodding and occasionally giggling, as though sharing secrets with someone only she could see. But it wasn't her words that disturbed me most. It was her eyes, those once innocent blue eyes, now tainted with an unsettling knowledge, seemed to flicker with a hidden awareness when she spoke to her friend. One night, as I stood at the doorway, peering into her dimly lit room, I saw something that chilled me to the core. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, whispering to her invisible friend, but there was a shape, a shadowy figure beside her. It was only there for a fleeting moment, gone before I could comprehend what I'd seen. My heart raced as I tiptoed closer, my footsteps barely making a sound on the plush carpet. My daughter's voice became more fervent, her words an indistinct murmur, and then, just as I approached her, she turned and smiled at the empty space beside her. "Daddy, this is my friend," she said, her voice tinged with a hint of eeriness. "Her name is Sarah, and she's always with me." I nodded, forcing a smile, but my heart was pounding in my chest. Sarah, the imaginary friend, was something more than just a product of my daughter's imagination. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something lurking in the shadows of our home, something I couldn't see, but could sense was terribly wrong. As I kissed Emily goodnight and left her room, a deep sense of dread settled over me. I needed to uncover the truth about Sarah, the friend with eyes I had seen, but I was afraid of what I might discover in the process. The terror of the unknown began to consume my thoughts, leaving me haunted by the whispered secrets that lingered in the darkness of our home. The days following that unsettling night were filled with a growing sense of paranoia. I couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah, the mysterious presence my daughter spoke to, was more than just a child's imaginary friend. My paternal instincts screamed that something sinister lurked beneath the surface of our seemingly peaceful home. I decided to do some research, digging through old books on folklore and paranormal phenomena. Late into the night, I scoured the internet, looking for any mention of an entity named Sarah with hauntingly eerie eyes. But my efforts yielded nothing. One evening, as Emily sat at the kitchen table drawing pictures with crayons, I mustered the courage to bring up the topic. "Sweetie," I began, trying to sound casual, "can you tell me more about your friend, Sarah?" Emily looked up from her drawing, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. "Sarah doesn't like to be talked about, Daddy. She says it's our secret." I swallowed hard, my heart sinking. It was clear that Emily was being influenced by whatever this Sarah was, and the sinister nature of their relationship became more apparent with each passing day. That night, as I lay in bed, the sense of dread consumed me. I couldn't let this go on any longer. I needed answers. So, with a flashlight in hand, I ventured into Emily's room, determined to uncover the truth. I scanned the room, my flashlight revealing a room bathed in shadows. Emily was asleep, her face serene, but the feeling of an unseen presence weighed heavily in the air. Then, as I shone the light around the room, I saw it again. The shape, the shadowy figure standing beside her bed. My pulse quickened as I stepped closer, the flashlight shaking in my trembling hand. And then, in the faint glow of the flashlight, I saw them. Two piercing, luminous eyes staring back at me from the darkness. They were not human eyes. They glowed with an otherworldly, malevolent intensity. I gasped, taking a step back, and the eyes vanished, leaving nothing but an empty room. Panic surged through me as I realized the terrifying truth. Sarah was real, and she was something far more sinister than any imaginary friend. Emily was entangled in something beyond our understanding, and I was determined to free her from this malevolent presence, no matter the cost. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of those glowing, malevolent eyes haunted my thoughts. I knew I had to confront whatever was tormenting my daughter, and I was willing to do whatever it took to protect her. Over the next few days, I immersed myself in research, reaching out to experts in the paranormal and scouring every resource I could find. Slowly, I began to piece together a chilling story of a malevolent spirit named Sarah that had been known to possess children, feeding off their innocence and fear. Desperation led me to a local paranormal investigator, Dr. Samuel Hayes, who was known for dealing with cases involving malevolent entities. He agreed to come to our home and investigate the situation. Together, we set up cameras and equipment, preparing for a night that could either confirm my worst fears or bring an end to this terrifying ordeal. As night descended upon us, the house seemed to come alive with creaks and whispers. Emily was sound asleep, blissfully unaware of the impending confrontation. Dr. Hayes and I positioned ourselves in the living room, watching the monitor displaying the feed from Emily's room. Hours passed, and the anticipation weighed heavily on us. The room was stifling, the air thick with tension. And then, just as I was about to give in to despair, it happened. On the monitor, we watched in horror as Emily's room grew colder, the breath visible in the dim light. An eerie whisper filled the room, unintelligible, but filled with malevolence. Emily stirred in her sleep, and the spectral figure of Sarah materialized beside her bed. Dr. Hayes gripped my arm, his eyes wide with alarm. "We have to do something. Now!" We rushed into Emily's room, the temperature dropping rapidly as we approached the bed. Emily's eyes fluttered open, and she gazed at us with a mixture of confusion and fear. "Daddy, Dr. Hayes," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ignoring her, we focused on Sarah, who now stood between us and my daughter. The room felt electrically charged, and I could feel the weight of Sarah's malevolence bearing down on us. "Sarah, you have no power here," Dr. Hayes shouted, brandishing a vial of blessed water. "Release this child from your grasp." The entity hissed and recoiled, its form dissipating like smoke. Emily screamed, her voice echoing through the house as the room returned to its normal temperature. I rushed to her side, holding her tightly as the malevolent presence vanished. In the weeks that followed, we moved out of that house, leaving behind the memories of that horrifying ordeal. Emily slowly returned to her cheerful, innocent self, but the terror of those nights still lingered in our hearts. We would forever bear the scars of our encounter with Sarah, the entity with eyes that had seen the depths of darkness.